Dear brothers, good morning, boys. Let's have some fun today, amongst other things. I got to thinking the other day, I was reading a couple of little summary excerpts from some books. Specifically, one of them was called The One Thing, which naturally talking about doing the one thing that's important. But it got me thinking a little bit about goal setting and what that actually means. And I've kind of found that when we set a goal, we almost purposely sometimes set it so far out into the future that it becomes kind of just like vapor. Like it's just, gone with the wind. It's something that we can't see or feel or touch. And in essence, it's like this future movie that seems somewhat impossible to play out. And I think that sometimes we do that as a form of procrastination because we know that goal setting matters, that finding our identity and pursuing meaning matters. And the world and mentors and books all tell us that we should be setting goals. And so inevitably we write down a few different ideas. Sometimes they're immensely simple goals, which there's nothing wrong with at times, and having realistic goals is excellent. But often they're so small and so easy to attain that they're not always worthy, or they're not moving the needle in the right direction, is the way that I would explain it to you. So the goal is just so simple that it's not really getting a whole lot done because you really didn't have to struggle or work too hard to get to it. But on the other side of that coin is when we start choosing those really far-fetched goals that I kind of talked about in the opening. Things which in our minds, anyways, don't seem possible to accomplish. But I'm going to urge all of you to something today. Most goals should be far-fetched. Most goals should feel impossible. They should even borderline almost on irrational, with a simple caveat or asterisk next to that. As long as those goals or that goal levels with your identity, as long as that goal is a part of your purpose in life, there's no such thing as it being far-fetched. This is what separates brilliant creators and businessmen and others, is that they are so driven by their purpose, by their identity, that to make an outlandish goal to maybe the rest of us isn't so outlandish to them. They see it as their mountain to climb, which is going to take them thousands upon thousands of steps and detours and difficulty, but they're going to climb it knowing that they're doing it with their purpose at the forefront of their mind. Their identity is so palpable that it doesn't matter the goal that comes after that, they're going to achieve whatever it is. And I want to discuss kind of finding your identity and finding your purpose in life at a later date, but I really want to dive into reaching goals today. And even if they're not super far-fetched yet, there's nothing more true in life than we are going to fail more often than we're going to succeed. Simple. We have to face adversity and have thousands of repetitions to find any form of even a minuscule amount of excellence. I was thinking about 100 words right there and I couldn't come out with the right one. But quick story. When I was learning to shoot a basketball as a kid, I really wanted to be a good basketball player. One of my goals was I wanted to start on our little teams that, my dad coached as a kid, and I wanted to be good, and there was a team that was above us that I wanted to go play for. I wanted to start for that team. And I was just learning how to shoot kind of effectively. And my old man would have me out in the front yard or in the, on our little concrete patch that we had, and I'd be at the front of the rim just shooting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shots with one hand. Then I'd go to the right side of the rim, and then I would go to the left side of the rim. And I was missing far more than I was making. And this was immensely frustrating. So I wanted to quit over and over and over again, just like many of you have experienced when you're trying to play a new sport or get better at something. But my old man would always push me. The work had to be done if I wanted that goal that we had talked about. If I wanted to start, I had to do it. And so putting that work in meant shooting more shots. And this wasn't lazy shots, concerted effort, making sure my elbow was in a good position, that I finished each shot and, stuck my fingers in the top of the hoop like we talked about. My habits had to be honed in and my technique had to be as perfect as I could make it for me. And one of the greatest lessons that I took away from this kind of regimented training, if you will, was all that mattered was the next shot and the changes that I made. It was this super common tactic that my dad used, and I've done this with my buddies, and all of you listening will have done this at some point if you've played a sport, especially basketball, is that at a certain point, obviously, we'd be done with kind of our workout. But in order for us to be done, I had to actually hit another shot, see the shot go in for us to be able to go inside, have dinner, whatever. So it might be like a kick out shot from the corner for 3. It might be a crossover dribble to the free throw line with a pull up jumper, but it had to go in. And oftentimes it's like one of those countdowns at the end of the game where you get the last shot and you got to make it. And so my dad or my buddies, when I'm with them, we count down 5, 4, 3, and you had to make the shot. And if you didn't make the shot, you did it again. And then you did it again. One more time. That was the mantra. Do one more. So the question that we have to ask ourselves, fellas, is this. If you have a goal set out in front of you, maybe it's being a business owner or quitting smoking or spending more time with your children or learning to speak another language or losing a bunch of weight. I don't know. The question is, can you do this for the next few months or the next few years? And the honest answer to that, which most of you should give if you're being honest, is I don't know. That's going to be hard and difficult and possibly treacherous in some ways. It's going to be tough to do that for a long time. But if I asked you, can you work on it for one more day? All of you are going to say, yeah, I can probably do it one more time. If you're trying to lose some weight and you're focusing on your meals and maybe avoiding alcohol, you may say to yourself, I don't know if I can stop drinking for another 6 months, but I can do it one more time this evening. And the next time that you're tempted to do it again, you can say to yourself that same thing. I can do it one more time. I can give it up one more time tonight. I don't know if I can do this forever, but I can certainly do it one more time. Sometimes, or something else that can happen, is that when we have an undertaking of a big goal, a project, like losing 30 pounds or writing a book or running a marathon or whatever, often one of our big issues with goal setting is that we get this severe sense of anxiety about it. And anxiety that can cripple us and really thwarts our ability to achieve whatever that goal we set was. And always understand this, guys. Anxiety is predominantly about the future. It's about things that have not come to be yet. And so we're usually not anxious about something that happened in the past. We're anxious about whatever that means for something in the future. And so let me give you my take on how you should approach that anxiety. First and foremost, I have talked about this before, you have got to humble yourself that you cannot handle anxiety effectively, and you've got to give it to God. We are not called to hold on to anxiety and handle it ourselves. It's foolish and it only harms us. It only puts you in a bad place. Secondly, do one more. Example being, you're nervous about losing weight and the fact that you're going to need to eat better for the next 6 months feels really daunting. First thing that you do, take that anxiety and you put it at the cross. The second thing that you do is you eat well one more time. When you feel that anxiety creeping back in, you rinse and you repeat number 1 and number 2 that I just said. So for those of you listening this morning, write down your goals, which you're putting off or you are struggling to attain. Ask yourself, is this goal in line with my identity or with my moral compass or what I think is my purpose in life? And then you start from there. And if those things don't look like they're in line with what you believe or with your identity, then you make some corrections. But if you do feel like you have goals that match up with your purpose in life, but you seem to be procrastinating them or failing to achieve them, or they're riddling you with some kind of anxiety, start first by putting them at the cross. And then I want you to find a way to do one more step that gets you towards that goal. One more workout, one more good meal, one more night without booze, one more morning without a cigarette, one more walk with your wife, one more call with your parents. Just do one more. Before you know it, you will have made it to your destination, and along the way, you learned the beautiful truth that you can't conquer a goal in a singular day. I know that's cliche and it sounds ridiculous, but it's true. It requires doing one more rep each and every day. Some days you might even get multiple reps in. Some days you might only be able to get one rep in. You're not going to be batting at 1,000% every single day. But the moral of the story is it just takes doing one more when you feel like you don't want to do it anymore. That is the beauty of looking at goals that way. Before you know it, you'll have reached the mountaintop. And it's all because in those moments where you were like, I'm struggling, I'm nervous, I'm anxious about this, you showed up and you did one more rep of whatever you needed to do. I promise you, in the grand scheme, that's what's going to serve you better than anything else. That's all for today, boys. I love you all. God bless. Be strong. Let's get after it. My dogs are both crashed out next to me. It's a beautiful thing. We'll see y'all.